Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Brad. Thank you for joining me today. We are on my favorite webinar of the week. We're going to talk about shipping rules today, and we'll go into different forms of shipping rules, different strategies for shipping rules. So today we're going to be talking all things automation. Now, there's a lot that a shipping rule can do, and I will get into the specifics of what that is, but we're not going to be super granular with this. I'm going to be speaking very generally. And at the very end, feel free to ask questions that are super specific. Maybe you have a limited edition Star Wars VHS from 1980 that you need tagged somehow. Well, we can talk about that at the end. So feel free to ask any questions around the shipping rules and the automation portion of Shipping Easy, or any other portions of the software as well. If you want to talk about packing slips, I'll be happy to talk about packing slips. But for the bulk of this webinar, we're going to talk about shipping rules and their use within our software. So what is a shipping rule? A shipping rule is an if-then statement. Oh, sorry, this is the what we'll cover. I just went over what we'll cover. We're going to cover what a shipping rule is, and then you can ask questions. This graphic, by the way, is from Billy Madison. He usually says, that's O'Doyle. He says O'Doyle rules, but we're talking about shipping rules. And man, I'm fired up because I love this webinar. It's always really interesting. But we'll talk about right now what the shipping rule is. So a shipping rule is an if-then statement. So I have this picture of a traffic light in the upper right-hand corner. That's a really great example of a shipping rule because it identifies a condition, which would be if the light is red. So that's the condition of the light, it's red. And then there's an action that applies to it. That means that you, the driver, need to stop. It's an if red, then stop condition. Same thing works in our software. If an order comes in with a Star Wars Empire Strikes Back 1980s VHS, if an order comes in with this item attached to it, then apply an action. That's how a shipping rule is going to work. You can use it to identify, they can be very broad, as I mentioned, or they can be very specific. A broad one would say, any order that comes from my Shopify store needs to ship with the post office priority mail. If the store is equal to Shopify, then set preset to US Postal Priority Mail. That's very specific because it could be an order for this Star Wars movie. It could be an order for my keyboard. It could be an order for anything. So that's a very broad idea of a rule, but you can also be super specific using the Star Wars movie again as a good example, saying if it's this particular item, then have this action applied to it. That's very specific versus saying if it's any item. The great thing about shipping rules too is that they're beneficial for every size of company that uses Shipping Easy. Companies that only ship a package a week can benefit from a shipping rule. Companies that ship thousands of packages a day, they will definitely benefit from a shipping rule. But it cuts down on the manual decisions you have to make on a day-to-day basis. You've essentially made that decision, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The main uses for shipping rules within Shipping Easy are, the first is automatically applying a shipping assignment. So going back to my previous example saying, if an order comes from Shopify, then set it to United States Postal Priority Mail. That's very specific. That's a shipping assignment. It's the post office. It is a priority mail package, and it's going to be applied to all of my Shopify orders. So that's just an easy one. That's just an example, but that's a shipping assignment or a preset as they're known in our software. A shipping rule can also automatically assist in order management. Now, a lot of customers will use Shipping Easy strictly for a shipping label, which is fine. That's exactly what you're supposed to do with it. The software helps you print and ship shipping labels. But I think an underutilized function of Shipping Easy is order management, helping you keep track of your orders and process your orders more efficiently. So what you can do with a shipping rule is you can assign various orders that get downloaded into Shipping Easy identifiers. So that way, you know, hold on, we can't process these Star Wars VHS tapes from the 1980s because we're still waiting on another shipment from somewhere. So we've got to put these on back orders. A shipping rule can help you identify those orders and process them accordingly. So that way I don't accidentally print a shipping label, pay for postage, and then have to cancel the label, call the customer and say, hey, I know you got an email from us saying that Revenge of the Sith was on its way, but I'm sorry, it's on back order. Those things sold out. I'm still waiting on it. That's 5 extra steps than you needed to do. If you have a shipping rule in place that recognizes that, it can prevent that sort of interaction from happening. And the final use for a shipping rule that's pretty common, but it is very specific. It's weird to have such a specific use case and it still be very common. Usually you'd have something really specific and it wouldn't be that common. But a lot of larger customers typically will use will get financial assistance through a shipping rule. What I mean by that is shipping rules can add insurance to your packages. If you have different third-party billing set up, they can do that. For example, if I have a vendor on the West Coast who ships these, well, I can set up a shipping rule that says, hey, if the destination state is equal to California, have the vendor ship this so I don't have to. I'm in Austin, Texas. We know it would be cheaper if it's in California because that's where the vendor is. That's the sort of financial decisions you can help the software set up in your place. Setting yourself up for success. So what I mean by this is our software is really great and it's really powerful. It does require you to basically tell it to what you're trying to accomplish. And this requires some setup. Set up your shipping preset. The shipping preset, as I alluded to earlier, is a carrier, service, and package combination. Example being United States Post Office, priority mail, 8x8x8 package. That's a combination of a carrier, a service, and a package, and those can be leveraged in a shipping rule. Again, going back to the example, if I get an order from Shopify, oh look, an order came in for Empire Strikes Back. Well, this needs to automatically default to United States Postal Service, priority mail, 8x8x8 package, and I can ship it out. A shipping rule will help me with that. You'll want to set up your order categories. So an order category is completely specific and unique to your business. My order categories and my test account mean nothing to you. You could title it the Star Wars collection or the Bob the Builder collection, and that means something to you, but it's really just an identifier. And I'll show you what those are specifically in a second. And the last thing you'll want to do too is if you have multiple people working on your Shipping Easy account, set up users. It's always good to have those in place just so that way you can know, okay, John's working on the Star Wars aisle and Bill's working on the Legos aisle or what have you. However it's broken up, it just helps with the division of labor and being able to have better optics across your entire business. So here's a shipping preset. I have this page highlighted because the top is the actual presets page within the application. So as you can see, we've got a couple of presets here that I've set up. And then this bottom is where you can access it on the orders page of Shipping Easy. And actually, I'll just show you this. I don't like this slide at all. It's kind of confusing because it doesn't really show that they're two separate pages. I should probably rework those. So we'll do it live. Here's the orders page of Shipping Easy. So if you're going to utilize a preset, which is just the carrier, the service, and the packaging, well, we can drop it down right here and I could select any of my presets that I've already created and just toggle to them. Right now it's set to UPS second day air, but maybe I want to ship that actually with Priority Mail Express. If I toggle to it, we'll get an updated rate. So that's just a quick manual way of doing it. But if you have these presets already created, you can use a shipping rule to legislate and govern that. Here's an order category. So if we go back to the Shipping Easy orders page, as you can see, there are different colored bars here. Each one of those means something different. Red in my account means, hold on, stop. Do not ship this package. If you ship this package, I will fire you. That's what red means. So that way, when my employees are going through here, they're avoiding that like the plague. You can actually filter to these categories as well. So on the left-hand side, there we go, back order, do not ship. I'm very serious about that. I really value not shipping that. So I can filter to everybody that is able to be shipped to, and that would be like my first class domestic. Again, the order categories that I have set up in my account, they're not native to the software. I set them up myself, and you'll do the same in your account if you need order categories. Yours might say priority mail, or they might say international shipments, or whatever it makes sense to categorize your orders. You'll set that up in there. And how you do that is you just click on settings in the upper right-hand corner, order category set up on the right-hand side, and you're just going to add new. It's really straightforward. So it's just the settings page, the order category setup, and then add new. We'll call this Pickle Rick 14. And it's ready to go. I can now categorize orders Pickle Rick 14 because again, it means nothing to me for the sake of this webinar, but it's completely subjective. So I do it to be a little facetious because it's memorable. But this can be exactly what you need. I still got Bob Seger in there too. That's hilarious. I made that yesterday in yesterday's webinar. Forgot to delete it. This is going to get pretty fat with categories. I can already tell. There's the preset category page, users. So this is for having multiple people logged into Shipping Easy at the same time, processing orders. The cool thing about users too is that maybe I have somebody that works only on domestic shipments, and maybe I want to handle the international ones because they require a little more attention. Well, if you set up a shipping rule that says if the order is domestic, then assign it to one of my users. So we'll go to settings in the upper right-hand corner. We're going to click on users. And as you can see, I have a list of various people that work for me. Johnny Depp, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Tom Selleck all work for me. I don't know why celebrities like to work for me, but I guess I'm just a good boss or something like that. But I can assign them all various orders. I don't really trust Tom Selleck to handle the international orders. I give those to Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And Johnny Depp, he takes care of all of the first-class shipments I have. So all of that can be broken. You can break out all of your orders respectively between a shipping rule and your users. There's some permissions you can grant to your users as well. If you just want them to be able to log in, print the postage, and then go pick the labels, or I'm sorry, pick the packages, they can absolutely do that. Great, we're gonna jump right into the shipping rule portion now. So that is just the setup. I just like to highlight that. So we talked about setting up a preset, setting up a shipping, an order category. I don't know why I'm blanking on that. And setting up a user. So let's talk about actually getting a shipping rule together. So going back to the common usages for shipping rules, let's start with a preset. Let's start with the carrier, the service, and the package. So we're going to click on settings in the upper right-hand corner. On the right-hand side, we'll click on shipping rules. As you can see, I have some right here. We're going to go ahead and just add a quick one. And we'll call this priority mail, so PM Express. So PM Express to me means priority mail express. It may mean partial majority express for you. Again, this is completely subjective, but we're going to go ahead and show you how to construct this. So priority mail express, let's just think of an easy idea around that. If I'm really passionate about getting my videos to my customers quickly, we'll give you next day shipping. It's built into the cost or whatever it is. Well, we can identify that with if the item SKU is equal to, and we'll say Empire Strikes Back, then set shipping preset to Express Shoebox, because that Express Shoebox is what I have set up inside of the presets for USPS. So we've identified the condition. So if the condition is equal to, if the item SKU is equal to this item, then I want to express ship this to my customers. All I have to do is click save. I'm not going to save it. This is just a demo one. And it will now, this rule will now apply to any order that is downloaded into Shipping Easy. But wait, you say, stop, Brad. What happens if somebody has already placed an order for this 1980 Empire Strikes Back VHS? What if that's already in Shipping Easy? And I created the rule 2 days after that was already downloaded. No big deal. Rules are not retroactive on their own. However, you can go in and rerun a shipping rule on an order. So if we go back to the orders page, and let's just pretend that this is that order that I need to apply this rule to, all I'll do is check that box so that it's highlighted in yellow. Then we'll click on the More button, rerun the shipping rule. Yep, that's okay. And uh-oh, it disappeared. Where did it go? All the software is doing is it's taking that order out of this queue, scrubbing it against the shipping rules that you have written, and then placing it back in the queue. It's kind of like taking some muffins out of the oven, checking their temperature with a toothpick, seeing, oh, is it coming out like moist or is it dry? The toothpick, that is. Okay, they need a little bit more time. The egg's not done, and it puts them back in. So if we refresh, there he is. He's had the rule applied to him. Now, I didn't do anything to this order because I didn't create an actual rule, so nothing's changed on it, but that's what the process is. I've worked with large customers where we've rerun the shipping rules on 200 orders and they disappeared right away, and the customer nearly had a heart attack with me on the phone. It was kind of funny, but it was also kind of, I like to preface that because people do get worried for obvious reasons. But yeah, if it disappears, that's completely normal. It'll be back in just a moment. Refresh your screen and you're good to go. Let's jump back over to the shipping rules. We're going to talk about creating an order category for a shipping rule. So we want to say, what would be a good scenario in this instance? If the order is going to well, I'm from Indiana. Let's say if the order is going to Indiana, we want to designate that with a certain category because that means something to me. That means I need to include like a special packing slip or a special message saying, hey, hometown pride, thanks for ordering from me, even though I left the state and I live in Texas now. I still love you guys. So I want to include that information in this order that's going to Indiana, and I want a way to flag that so I know if it has a certain color next to it, that's what's going, that a special message is going to be included with this order. So we can be very specific and say if the destination state is equal to the great state of Indiana. Then assign to category, we could just use Pickle Rick 14. Maybe that's enough for me to know that, okay, Pickle Rick 14 means that I'm going to include one of these cards in it. All we'd have to do is just assign it to the category that I want, save the rule, and we would be able to have every single order downloaded, scrubbed against that. Again, you have that order category rule applied to your orders, and you're able to filter to it on the left-hand side, or just see it readily displayed here if you don't specifically have your filters engaged at that time. But that, again, that really helps. I really like order categories. I'm passionate about them, if you will, because they just help take all of the stuff that's on the orders page and really condense it down to what's most important first. So yeah, that's the way you would use it. Use a shipping rule for an order category. And then the last part of this, as I mentioned, we use shipping rules for users specifically. So if you have multiple people that might have eyes or hands on the Shipping Easy software, I definitely recommend taking a look at your process and seeing, okay, well, does it make sense for Johnny Depp to fulfill this? Should Joseph Gordon-Levitt be in charge of the East Coast, et cetera? And again, we just got to figure out any sort of condition that works. We could say maybe Joseph Gordon-Levitt threw his back out last week and he can't lift anything over 2 pounds. Well, lucky for us, we've got an order weight category or order weight condition. So we could say if the order weight is less than or equal to, and it's right at 2 pounds. So I'm going to say 1.15.99 ounces. So he's going to come in just shy there. And then we're going to assign it to a different user. Now, Johnny Depp, no, it's Tom Selleck. Selleck can take the heavier stuff. So we are going to assign that to Joseph Gordon-Levitt because we're saying it's less than 2 pounds. But basically what's going to happen now is, let's say this Star Wars tape is ordered. It gets downloaded. This is only maybe 10 ounces at most. It's going to pass this rule, and rather than appear on all of my workers' orders pages, it's going to show up specifically for Joseph Gordon-Levitt so he doesn't re-injure his back. He's able to ship this out and still continue to work for me and keep everybody happy. So that's the user rule within Shipping Easy. Let me see. I don't know if I had any other specific examples to cover. We've got categories. We got Q&A. So yeah, I mean, these webinars go until 1:30, but I mean, if you guys have tons of questions, I will stay until the very end to answer them. This is my favorite part of it, of the week, because shipping rule questions are always really interesting to me, and it's one of my favorite things to work on with customers. So if you have questions, I will answer those now. You can go ahead and start filling out the chat window or the Q&A window if you'd like. Can you explain how to create a preset? Yeah, so someone's asking, is there a way to, can I re-explain how to create a shipping preset? Correct. So a shipping preset, again, is just a carrier, a service, and a package. It's a combination that can be used inside of the shipping rules or on the orders page. So to create one, we're going to click on settings in the upper right-hand corner. On the right-hand side here, we're going to click on shipping presets beneath our shipment settings menu. As you can see, I have a lot of presets already made in my test account. All of the ones with actual stars next to them can be used on the orders page. Any without a star next to it cannot be used on the orders page. However, I could use any preset that I have, regardless of whether it's starred or not, in a shipping rule. But to create one of these, all we have to do is select domestic or international. Let's do domestic. We'll click new preset. I have my different shipping options right here. I'll explain what this extra UPS account is in just a moment. But we'll just click on the United States Postal Service. So I got the carrier. Now I need the service. Let's say priority mail. So I've got priority mail and the post office, 2/3 of the way there. Now I just need to get a package. I can already use one of the packages I have in place, or I could create a new package if I wanted as well. We'll call this the 100 by 100 by 100 package. And we'll call it the Big Mama package. Save and continue. It's good to go. Create the preset. And I can now use this preset. I could have titled that preset Big Mama. I could have titled it the Giant Package, whatever you want as far as the organization goes. That's completely fine. Going back to what I just mentioned as far as the special UPS account that you see right here, if you're new to Shipping Easy, or this is a relatively new feature, if you just weren't aware of it, this is the UPS account that is provided by Shipping Easy's parent company, Stamps.com. So Stamps.com now supports a really nice discounted UPS rate. So if you don't have UPS rates, or even if you have them, I invite you to take a look and set up the UPS rates within Stamps.com, because they're really competitive. I believe they're somewhere on the order of like 60% off retail. And that's right out the gate. That's not having to prove volume or anything. It's as easy as clicking on one balance and carriers in the upper right-hand corner. And then as you can see in my Stamps.com account, I would just click add UPS. I've already added it to my account, so it's not going to show up that option is not going to show up. But there, you can shop around with those rates on your rate calculator. You can compare them against your own. By no means do you have to use the Stamps.com UPS rates. I have my other account plugged in here. It's completely up to you, but they are really competitive in case yours aren't that good, or you don't have UPS at all. Can Shipping Easy see my inventory so a preset could flag an order that is back order? Great question. Yes. So Shipping Easy, we can see your inventory so long as inventory is enabled on your Shipping Easy account. So Shipping Easy does support the ability to track your inventory. So if we hover over inventory, click on product catalog, here's what mine looks like. And we have all these various numbers for all my various products. So all of this information can be leveraged into a shipping rule, or at least most of it can. So trying to track something that's maybe back ordered is going to have to do with this number right here, our threshold. And what a threshold is, it's a stock level. So mine's currently set to 0. So this 99 red balloons product, if that inventory level hits 0 or goes below 0, I will get an alert saying, hey, your inventory for this particular product is very low. You should probably reorder it. So that's how it works within the inventory application. Now, how this translates to a shipping rule, because I have this threshold set, we can create a shipping rule that says if, I'll go over here. Oh, I've got one already set up. Let me jump back. We'll use my back order category as an example. So if the product has low stock, so we're identifying that 99 red balloons product and we're seeing, oh, it's at -1. It's below my threshold, which is at 0. So it has low stock, it qualifies. That means that it's true. Then we're going to assign it to a category of back order do not ship, or just do not ship in your case. It's up to you again as far as how you title that. But as long as you have the inventory module enabled on Shipping Easy and you have an accurate representation of your stock, because Shipping Easy is the home base of your stock, then you can write this shipping rule to flag orders as back order do not ship. So that way you're not accidentally printing labels for packages that you don't have product for. Can we assign a gift applied to an order based on the order amount? That's an interesting question. If I understand your question correctly, I think this person is asking, is there a way to assign an extra item perhaps to an order or like an add to item to an order based on the order amount? We can flag it. There's not a way to specifically add to SKU. So if we go to the actions and we look at this, there's no like add to SKU and then have like a SKU that we could type out right here. My recommendation is you would say if let me get out of here so it's not confusing, add new. So we're talking about identifying an order that costs a certain amount of money and then adding an additional item to it, it sounds like. If I understand correctly. If I'm misunderstanding, please feel free to correct me or explain further in the Q&A portion, but I'm going to run with the item that you're ordering has a certain value and you want to add something extra to it. So we could just say if the, let's go with the order total, and we could say is greater than or equal to $100. Then, and again, we would just assign this to a category in this instance. And if it's Pickle Rick 14, you can use that one and know that, oh, okay, every time we see that category in Pickle Rick 14, we know that these orders are over $100 and they need to have a 1983 VHS copy of Return of the Jedi added to their order. That could be the stipulation. The software is not going to automatically add Return of the Jedi to this order. You'll have to do that yourself, but that's okay. Let's go back to the orders page of Shipping Easy, and we'll just pretend for a second that the top order that's about to pop up is one of these orders where it's greater than $100. We need to add Return of the Jedi to it. All you have to do is click the actual order. You'll get the slide out right here. And then this item details window is what you want to effectively adjust. So we can click on pencil, add an item, and we'll say Return of the Jedi. Now that's not in my product catalog. It's going to do nothing in the grand scheme of things, but that would be the process that you would use to identify an order that's over a certain amount and then go in there and manually add an extra item if you like. Great question. I love that question. That's really interesting. We have 2 weeks to fulfill any back ordered items. Can we pull the back in stock date from purchase orders to estimate the shipping date? That's an interesting question. So this person is saying that they have 2 weeks to fulfill back ordered items. So if we look at this order, for example, this one with a red bar next to it, meaning that it's one of my back order items. So this would be an instance where I might reach out to the customer who is fender bender and say, hey, we don't have the alligator clutch or the shirt. They're both on back order. So I'm going to say it's like, we'll say a week and a half before we can get these out to you. There's not a way to populate the stock number into Shipping Easy, like an estimated delivery date, if I understand correctly. This person's main question was being able to offer an estimated shipping date to their customer. There's no way to really calculate that in the software and be able to say, yeah, it's going to be plus or minus 7 days or something. The short answer is no, the software cannot support that. That would be a guesstimation I think you would want to make on your own with your suppliers. We do support lead time, which is good. So if you have lead time on your products, you can fulfill that in your purchase orders and in the inventory module. But it's not, we're not able to leverage that into any information on the orders page, if that makes sense. Cool. So that sounds like that would work. How many presets can you have? I have 200 items with different boxes and weights. Would I create a preset for each? If you wanted to completely, yeah, I think the short answer is yes. If you wanted to completely automate your situation, and the question to go back is, how many presets can you have? Pretty sure it's actually unlimited. I don't think there is a cap on it. But this person's saying they have 200 items each with its individual box. So for example, if this is my packaging and this is my item, well, these two can only go together. I can't fit my keyboard in here. It's just not going to work. So I have to create a preset for each of these items. So yes, you would, if all of your items are unique to the point that they have their own customized packaging, then yes, you will want to create over 200 presets, which is a lot, to be sure. But if that's part of the brand, if that's part of the shipping methodology that you have, then it sounds like it probably makes sense to do that. A little bit of legwork to get it going at first, but yeah, all that information makes sense to me. You could create shipping rules for all of that as well. If there's any sort of generality or sort of broad product category, I might recommend you take a look at those. In a product category, I usually use these for people that have a lot of SKUs to try and cut down on the amount of shipping rules and presets you have. And a product category could be videotapes, and another product category could be Apple products. They cover large swaths, but you're able to condense a lot of items in it. Now, again, because of the subjectivity of your products, And because it sounds like each product has a specific box, might not be the most practical or doable. But yeah, if you have 200 products and each one has its own box that it ships in, you're going to want to create 200 shipping presets, which is going to take a little bit of time. I'm not going to lie, but once you get there, you should be good. Let's see. I have set up a shipping rule and added dimension and the weight, the carrier package type and dimension show up, but the weight I'm having to manually enter. Set up shipping rule, add dimension, the weight, the carrier package type and dimension show up, but the weight. So there's a question around adding weight to a preset and a shipping rule. If you wouldn't mind clarifying, I think if the question's, if I'm understanding it correctly, there's a shipping rule that's set up with a preset applied to it, and the weight is not being added to the order itself. If I understand, I think I understand. That's it was hard to decipher that. Typically, when you have to add a weight, I would say this would be the place to start. If you have to add or adjust, sorry, my dog is on the bed. She's coughing right now. Let's let her do her thing. I'm casting from my bedroom, if you couldn't tell. This is not a work environment. Anytime your weights for your orders or your products are not pulling over into shipping easy, the first place I usually check is the product catalog. So if we go back to inventory, click on product catalog, SKUs on items will apply weights to those items. If you don't have SKUs, then it's going to be difficult to get those item weights applied. I mean, we will download the item weight from Shopify, for example. A lot of Shopify merchants do not have SKUs, but we'll download their order regardless, and we'll be able to see the weight. But as far as like tracking it and making sure that it's accurate, having a SKU is really important. On kind of a tangent, an item SKU is one of the most important pieces of information I think that a merchant can set up. It's really tough to automate things through shipping rules or to track inventory or to organize things without item SKUs. And if you're not familiar with what an item SKU is, it's a piece of information that describes the item. So my item SKU for my Return of the Jedi VHS could be 1, 2, 3. I could call my item SKU Return of the Jedi. It doesn't matter. It's a piece of information for me to identify this product. But if I don't have that unique identifier for this product, most softwares, Shipping Easy included, will just look at this as like, okay, it's a product, but I can't tell you what this product is. So if you haven't taken time to set up your item SKUs, I highly suggest you do that. That is incredibly valuable. It helps troubleshoot a lot of issues that merchants may run into when shipping. It helps troubleshoot a lot of issues merchants run into when tracking inventory and just trying to sort things out. So I would always, if it has to do with weights, check your SKUs, make sure the weight's accurate inside of Shipping Easy or wherever the weight's originating. I'm sorry if that didn't necessarily answer your question. You might want to try and type it again. I didn't necessarily understand where you were trying to apply a weight and where you were not seeing the weight. Let's say I use an advanced shipping plugin for WooCommerce for shipping. I haven't even finished reading this question, but it's the beginning is, let's say I have an advanced shipping plugin for WooCommerce. I love this question because WooCommerce is super customizable and there's a lot of stuff to it. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to answer it, but we're going to take a shot at it. And it seems you guys do more through robust logic system. So the plugin, from what it sounds like, ideally I should be able to dump my plugin and use the logic system. So it'll be okay as long as I have. Do I have any companies that leverage? So this question is really just around, it sounds like this user, and I think I can answer this one. It sounds like he uses a plugin that has logic like the shipping rules that Shipping Easy uses. It's just embedded in his WooCommerce store, which is fine. You know, do all the stuff you want to do to your VHSs in WooCommerce, and Shipping Easy will still download the order. It's just whatever action you want Shipping Easy to apply to it. That's all. This is Shipping Easy is the only environment that action is going to apply. If you rerun a shipping rule on this Return of the Jedi VHS, it's not going to do anything in WooCommerce The only thing that will ever happen to WooCommerce is if you ship this to a customer and Shipping Easy goes back and updates WooCommerce, or it updates the inventory in WooCommerce if that's enabled. But as far as whatever setup or plugin you have on your platform, that's completely fine. It's just independent from the shipping rules that are within Shipping Easy. I hope that answers the question. Feel confident it did. Can you show how to set up a preset for all SKUs that start with a certain set of letters or numbers? Great question, absolutely. So the cool thing about shipping rules, as I've mentioned often, is that they can be very broad, they can be very specific, or they can be just right. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, because a lot of customers will have like a SKU set. Maybe I have 30 different items, and they have different SKUs, and they don't necessarily work well from like a product category kind of idea. So I couldn't just say if the product category is equal to VHS. Maybe these SKUs, maybe I just want to identify certain parts of these SKUs. So in this instance, this person's asking to set up a rule that identifies the first few letters of the SKU or the back two letters of the SKU. It's completely up to you, but let's take a look at what that looks like. I think that's a really interesting condition. Shipping rules, we'll say add new, and we'll say begins with. Well, yeah, we'll say begins with. We'll call this shipping rule begins with, and we'll say if the item SKU. Now look at all these options we have right here. We have ends with, we have is blank, does not contain, is equal to. We're just going to use contains. That's enough. If we're just looking for something, it looks like there are 3 characters in this person's SKUs. We can just say contains, and we'll say contains LH hyphen. Whoops, sorry, LH hyphen. Then we take the action. We can assign a preset. We can give this a category. We can set the order weight to it. There's a lot of cool options that you have from there, but that's all that shipping rule is going to look like. Is you'll find the item SKU, if you've got a bunch of them that begin with this that you want to identify, just go item SKU, contains, boom, and then pick your action. Can you go over entering package weights and how total weight is calculated? Perfect. I will. So a package weight, this person is asking how to, here's a great prop. This is a gift card that I sent to my nephew, an Amazon gift card for his graduating of high school. And I sent it to myself by accident. So it's $100 for me, I guess. But we'll use this as an example. The gift card inside this package is only like maybe 2 ounces. The package itself is maybe 3 ounces. So we'll say this whole thing is 5 ounces total. Now it's important to be precise in the weight of this package because 5 ounces is different than 2 ounces when it comes to pricing. So we want to take in the entirety of this package versus just saying, oh yeah, I got a gift card. It's 2 ounces and we can ship it out. It's just 2 ounces. Great. Because you will get adjusted by the post office. They'll either debit the difference from your stamps.com account, or they'll return the package outright and my nephew won't get his $100. So to adjust or to account for the package weight, let's go to package setup. So we're going to click on settings in the upper right-hand corner, and then we'll click on package setup right here beneath our shipment settings. As you can see, I've got a butt ton of packages that I've already set up right here. And then we have a couple of different columns that explain information about it. Dimensions of the package, the override weight, and the add to weight. So this is very important to make this distinction because the override weight, basically it takes the entire package and makes the entire order that weight. So going back to this example of this gift card, the gift card is 2 ounces, the package is 3 ounces, so it's 5 ounces total. If I set this package to 3 ounces as the override weight, it would override the weight of the item too. So if I printed a shipping label, it would print the shipping label saying that this was a 3 ounce package when that's inaccurate, it's 5. So make sure that when you're setting up your packaging that you're using this add to weight because it adds to the weight of the entire order versus overriding it. Overriding is the nuclear option of package setup. Definitely stick to the add to weight. And to set up a package, all you have to do is click new. And we can call this one nephew's gift card. And it's like, I don't know, we'll say a 25 by 25 by 25. That's a huge package. Let's see, we'll say the add to weight is 3 ounces and any notes accidentally sent to self. And we're good to go. Now, anytime I use this package, it will add 3 ounces to the overall order. Let's see, can we have a rule to split orders into 2? One with all the back ordered items, the other with what we can ship. Yes, and I'm glad you brought up splitting items within a shipping rule. It's an interesting concept because there's one limitation in splitting an item with a shipping rule. We can't split by quantity. We can split by line item. For anybody that's not sure what a line item is, a line item is a product. So if I'm shipping my mom Return of the Jedi, well, Return of the Jedi is a single product. It's a single line item. But if I'm shipping my mom Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, well, then that's 2 line items because they're each individual products. So Return of the Jedi is a line item. Empire Strikes Back is a line item. So that we can split that, but we couldn't split, say, if I had 2 copies of this. There'd be no way to do that through a shipping rule. I'll show you what that looks like right now. So let's go back to shipping rules. We're going to say add new. Oh, you know what? This is a great question too, because this person asked about breaking out the back order items. So we need, this is why I love this webinar, because this is going to require, how I would set it up is this is going to be a 2 shipping rule condition to knock out and satisfy what we're looking for right now. So let's go ahead and say, yeah, let's say this. Let's say add new. This will be called the split back order. So split back order. We're going to say if the total quantity is greater than or equal to 2. So right there, we're saying if the total quantity of an order is equal to, greater than or equal to 2, and the total line items, because again, we can't split quantity. So I couldn't just split 2 of the Empire Strikes Back. There has to be a different product in there for me to split this automatically. So we're going to say if the number of line items is greater than or equal to 2 as well, then we're going to break out split by line item. Sorry, split all line items is what I want there. So what that'll do is, let's say I get an order for Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. Well, Shipping Easy is going to see that and say, oh, okay, cool. There's quantity 2 here, and we need to add another condition, because all that's going to do is just break out all of those. I apologize, I jumped the gun. And item, where is it? Low stock. Oh, there we go. Product has low stock is true. Then split all line items. So what that's doing is it's identifying if either one of these guys has low stock, then it's going to break it out. So I've set my threshold at 0. So if Empire Strikes Back, if I have 0 of that, it's going to take this order and break it apart. It's going to split it by the line item. So we'll save that rule. Now this touches on a really interesting thing too, when it comes to shipping rules. Your placement of your shipping rules matters. It absolutely matters, because the orders come in from top to bottom. So we start with USPS first class domestic, then we move to priority domestic, then we go to back order category, then we go to split back order. Now the interesting thing to keep in mind about all this, look at this back order category rule I have. All it's saying is that if the product has low stock is true, then assign to a category. Back order, do not ship. So if we go back to this example where I don't have Empire Strikes Back, well, it's going to pass this rule, because Shipping Easy is going to read it and see, oh, Empire Strikes Back, he's at 0 for that guy. So go ahead and assign it to back order, do not ship. And then if we go to the next rule that's right below it, well, it's also going to pass this rule as well. We're going to say product has low stock. It's true. He does not have Empire Strikes Back. The number of line items is greater than or equal to 2. So that's true. We've got 2 line items, and the total quantity is greater than 2. Then great. That's passing this one as well. We'll split this out. So then what's going to happen, what we would expect to see on the orders page, is that this particular order, so the Empire Strikes Back, is going to have a red bar next to it, and Return of the Jedi, which I do have stock in, is not going to have that. So that's a really interesting way to use 2 shipping rules to achieve an end. Now, we'd probably keep it like that actually. And I actually would want to push this order. I'd put the split back order above the back order category. The reason being is because when we split these orders, which occurs in this step, this is like the Shadows of the Empire timeline between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, if anybody's following me on that one. But basically what's happened is we've split this order with that shipping rule. And now each one of these orders is being evaluated against the back order category. So I still want to ship Return of the Jedi. I don't want to ship Empire Strikes Back. So Return of the Jedi would fail the category rule because I've got plenty of stock on this guy, but Empire Strikes Back would not. So that would be my recommendation, is pay attention to how you have your shipping rules configured, because it definitely matters. If I had it the other way around where the back order category was on top, well, both of these guys would show up as back order when I could actually ship this one out. So that's a great question. That's a really cool scenario. I wish I had a prize I could give you because I'm going to keep this order in here. It's a great thing to underline. So congratulations. You've been cemented in Brad Pendleton's Shipping Easy account for eternity. Let's see. Oh boy, I didn't see the follow-up question. It says, but we usually have 20 to 30 line items per order. It's going to get messy. Will these be split into 20 or 30 separate orders? Yes, they will. They absolutely will. So if we go back and say, if it passes that split rule, yes, each order is going to be broken out into individual line items. In that instance, it would probably be cleaner and easier for you to just, instead of splitting these out, create a category that says need to be split. So that way, when you come back to the orders page, you can identify these guys. Let's go and take a look here. We'll say category, Bob Seeger example. Let's pretend, I have no orders that pass that one. Let's pretend that this guy has quantity 30 in it. Just identify it and split it manually on the orders page. That's going to make the most sense versus trying to have a shipping rule, because yeah, you'll end up with a bunch of different orders. You'll have to recombine them. You'll have to go through all this manual work. It'd just be easier to identify, filter to them, and then split them here. Whoops, I can't split that because it's only quantity 1. Let's look at this guy. Split. So you can break it up 1-to-1 like that, or where's the other example? We can split it specifically by the items. So maybe I know that I can get 2 in a certain package or 1 in a certain package. Here's where you can actually get into your quantities and say, all right, these 3 are going over to the new order and this one's going to stay back because it needs its own package. I would honestly, the path of least resistance is identifying these orders and splitting them on the orders page itself. We don't have that logic built in to split by quantity. It's a very hairy logic. I've talked with product managers about it before and like, well, why can't we get it? We get a lot of requests for it. There's a lot to it is the short answer. And there's a lot of room for error. So it's just something that makes more sense to have the human touch. How many presets can you have? Oh, I saw that one. I'm sorry, I saw that. Can you explain how tags work with shipping rules? Your chat person recommended adding a tag for everything that would be in a flat rate envelope, for example, is the best way. Or would I set up a shipping preset? So a tag, yeah. So this person is asking about the utilization of what's called an orders tag. An orders tag, they get used for. It's another form of identification for your orders. They're really good in the same sense as an order category. I usually use order tags in conjunction with categories. So you can only have a single category per order. So you'll notice there's not like double bars or anything on any of those guys, but I can have order tags that take up that space. So if I have very specific criteria for orders, I can have a general category that identifies them and then have an order tag. And you can double up on the specificity of your orders on the orders page. For example, we could say everything with an order tag of, let's go with first class international, I'm sorry, category of first class domestic, and an order tag of, and we could call this whatever, we'll say pink, rainbows. That would return a certain set of results that combines not only categories, but order tags. So if I understand this person's question, is that your chat person recommended adding order tag for everything that would go? It's up to you as far as adding an order tag um, for how you want to identify everything that will ship in a certain manner. I always start with categories just because they're broad and they're easy. But yeah, if you have like a United States postal category, and then you want to have another way to identify USPS first class and USPS international and USPS priority mail, but you still want to keep everybody in that category, that's where you would start to use the orders tags. So that way you would just build out the criteria further on that. So you could create, let's look at how the shipping rule basically could play out. We'll click on settings, shipping rules, and we'll go to add, and we will say, I'm just going to be very broad with this. I don't know what your criteria is for identifying these orders, but we'll just say if the store is equal to my Amazon store, then we'll assign it to a category, Pickle Rick. And maybe Pickle Rick just means the United States Post Office. So that would be my first rule that I create. I'd create a rule beneath it as well, though, and get a little more specific. So we know that we're looking for Amazon, or I'm sorry, in this case, we would just say if the product category is equal to USPS. So if you'll go back, if you're riding with me, if we'll go back to the previous rule assigned the product category to that USPS product category that I've created. Now this rule is going to further look at another more specific piece of information from this order. So we're going to say if the product category is equal to USPS, which it will be because the rule above it has set this order as a USPS product category, we'll need to add one other piece of information to it as well. And it is, let's say, going to Texas. It's going to come to my house. I bought something from you, so we can see that, oh, it's going to Texas. Then that's where you can add an order tag to it. And we'll call this like the Texas special sauce or whatever. Sauce. There. Now that's a very specific order set that I can filter to on the Shipping Easy Orders page to satisfy that. I hope that made sense. Essentially, we're starting very broad with identifying the product itself and saying it's in my USPS category. The rule beneath it is going to be a little more specific to funnel those down to order tags. That would be my recommendation, just based off your question, having not spoken with you or troubleshot that with myself. There may be other pieces of information that we're just missing there, that there might be a better way. But based on your question as far as how to apply order tags to an order and designate them as a shipping preset, you can absolutely do that. I don't know if I covered it, but you can have multiple actions applied to a single shipment. So in that instance, we could apply an order tag and a preset, and then you could just filter, select everybody, and print them off. Great question. Product tag. Oh, okay. So this person was interested in a product tag. Yeah, it's product tags and order tags. It really depends on how you're trying to use them. Tagging the SKUs and products that fits in the envelope. Oh, cool. This is a great question. So this person's asking about how do I tag products like SKU 1, 2, 3. We know that my Return of the Jedi cassette is going to always go into a flat rate envelope. So any cassette that I have actually will be able to go into it. You could do it on a SKU basis. We could say if the item SKU, we'll go back up here. Item SKU is equal to Return of the Jedi. Then, and I don't think we have a product tag on a shipping rule. Contact tag. Yeah, so you would actually set up the product tag on the inventory. And now that I come to think of it, product tag. Yeah, you would set up your product tag on the actual inventory side. So inside of product catalog, you can just click on whatever SKU makes the most sense that you're trying to affect. We'll click on edit, tag, we can call this Return of the Jedi. Click enter, it's been added now. and we will save you. You can search for that on the orders page, and you can identify it inside of a shipping rule, and then you would apply the preset. So sometimes I just have to talk through it before that aha moment goes off in my head. But yeah, in that case, you would say if the product tag, which is, you can tell how often I use use the tag. It's called a SKU tag inside of rules. It's called a product tag in the product catalog. But we could say if that's equal to Return of the Jedi, there it is, then we're going to assign it to a preset. And so you could do like a CSV upload to upload a CSV of all product tags to all your products, and then just apply the shipping rules accordingly. And that will split all line items, and that will satisfy, I think, what you're trying to accomplish. The other thing is just to do a product category. Again, going back to, categories are very wide, and tags are very particular. So if you've got 1,000 SKUs that are going to be in this flat rate envelope, I usually start with the product category. I just like having a bigger bucket to catch stuff in. And then with the SKU tags, I really just use to delineate specific like attributes. So if this is 1995's reissue of the VHS versus the 83 edition that I have, that would get like a product tag to be a little more specific. But that's the beauty of shipping rules. They can be very big, or they can be very specific. Let's see here. What else? Cool. I think we've answered all of the questions, and as usual, we've gone beyond our time. I mean, if anybody has any questions, feel free to chat them in now as I'm wrapping up. But thank you very much for joining me. I do these every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Oh, and here, I always got to plug this. I do record these and place them on the Shipping Easy YouTube channel. So you can save that to your browser. I will upload all 3 from this week tomorrow. I do that every Friday. So yeah, if you ask the right questions, you will be immortalized on the internet. You'll see me answer them week in and week out. You can show your grandchildren that in 30 years and say, hey, remember this guy? He was at Shipping Easy for a few years and he answered a question of mine. It's a highlight of my life. But thank you for joining me today on Shipping Rules. As I mentioned, this is my favorite one, so I'm usually pretty fired up to get here, but the other ones are really great too. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 1 p.m. And then we are working on a landing page right now to let everybody know about future webinars. We're going to try and expand the topics and talk about some other cool stuff right now. But every Tuesday, we talk about how to ship from the orders page. Every Wednesday, we talk about picking and packing, and Thursdays are shipping rules. And just a teaser, we've got something really, really cool coming up on the How to Ship Shipping Easy webinar on Tuesdays. There's a big feature that is on its way that I'm super excited about. I'm just going to tease it there. So go ahead and register for future ones if you like. Each one's unique. These aren't pre-recorded by any means, but thank you very much for joining me. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. There's no holidays coming up, so it'll just be a 2-day weekend, but I think we'll survive. But yeah, everybody, take care.